Hey guys, this is take two. Luna the cat decided to meow until she got my attention, and then she was rubbing her butt in the camera, and oh, it was such a good first take, but she spoiled it. So if you hear her meowing, that's it. All right, Dragon Ball Viz Big Volume 5. This collects volumes 13, 14, and 15 of Dragon Ball and concludes basically the Dragon Ball arc of this series. It would pick the next volume picks up with Dragon Ball Z, and I know that that's kind of like that's how they title it in English. In Japan, it's all Dragon Ball, but really, in my mind, Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball are two very different series. And one of the interesting things about Dragon Ball is it's sort of like you're watching it gradually change from a fun, goofy, silly series that's a parody of the Journey to the West, and it over time slowly becomes more and more like Dragon Ball Z. And by the time it becomes Dragon Ball Z, the tone is completely different. Now it's about aliens having superpower battles. I'm not planning to review Dragon Ball Z at this time. I've got to be a lot richer before I start collecting that. And I really wanted to focus my attention on Dragon Ball. That's what I wanted to collect. That's what I wanted to review, because my story is when I was a little kid, Dragon Ball Z was a phenomenon. It was huge. And I just thought it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard of. Years later, as an adult, as I keep hearing people talk about Dragon Ball being one of the all-time greats, I say, okay, fine, I'll check it out. And I fell in love. And I had to find out what the Journey to the West was that inspired this. So my thesis about Dragon Ball is Akira Toriyama wrote a love letter to the Journey to the West. He really got the themes of the Journey to the West, and that comes across in the conclusion to Dragon Ball. And then it's sort of like an entire industry started writing love letters to Akira Toriyama. I just see the way he influenced the next generation of manga artists and writers. It completely soaks this work when you look back. I see whole scenes that, the creator of Naruto or that the creator of One Piece would pull from later. So I think Dragon Ball is a work of genius. And then Dragon Ball Z takes all of those characters and this world and these concepts and reinvents it into alien superpower battles, kind of for better or for worse. So, and I also see some of Akira Toriyama's weaknesses coming across in this volume, like his tendency to forget about characters or pull goofy plot contrivances out of his butt. But it's sort of like his weaknesses don't matter, because the charm of his series isn't the perfect plot construction. The charm of his series is the warmth and the memorability of the characters, especially Goku's innocence, which remains unchanged. And it's sort of like he's a static character, but his growth and change isn't a transformation in who he is. His growth and change is in his strength and resolve and how frequently he's tested. So what's important about Goku is, despite all of these tests, he remains an innocent soul in his heart, unlike his companions who are a little bit more worldly wise than him. So let's jump into it. So first thing we kind of notice is the evil King Piccolo has come to power, and the gang, while Goku's out of commission, the gang is trying to hold him off. So we're sort of seeing the foreshadowing of how Dragon Ball Z is going to work. The rest of the fighters, who are much, much weaker, are going to be desperately stalling for time while Goku powers up and comes in to save them all. So this is one of the coolest scenes from Master Roshi, because he's basically prepared to sacrifice himself to take out King Piccolo, and he determines that this is a foe who's too strong for any of you. None of you are going to fight him. I'm going to face him alone. Roshi tries a desperate gambit, and it fails at the end. And the gambit actually costs Roshi his life. One interesting thing is there's a very clear pattern to Dragon Ball. There's an adventure arc. There's a martial arts tournament. There's an adventure. There's a martial arts tournament. There's an adventure. There's a martial arts tournament. Toriyama is revisiting these ideas, but he's putting some twisteroos on them. So one thing they try the old trick of trying to run in really quick and make your wish before the bad guy can, which is what Oolong did to great comedic effect in the very first Dragon Ball adventure. They try this here, and Piccolo catches them out and murders Chaozu before he can steal his wish from him. So things that worked the first time. You can't reuse that trick every time. Let's hop ahead. Tien Shinhan, after the death of Roshi, decides he has to make the ultimate sacrifice and perform the sealing ritual, which, by the way, their plan is to seal the bad guy demon in a rice cooker. So even when there's this serious world-ending element, there's still one element of the absurd that you can crack up at. Now, one weakness is, okay, the supporting characters are doing some cool stuff, but they don't really get a lot of time in the sunlight. The second that Tien Shinhan arrives, he realizes the rice cooker is cracked and this plan's not going to work. He gets to fight one of Piccolo's mooks for a bit, but then, of course, Goku shows up and steals the show, and Tien Shinhan really doesn't get to do too much. Here's an example of Toriyama being a smart aleck. He's been drawing King Piccolo with 3 fingers this whole time. He says, "You shall die in 5 seconds," and hold up 5 fingers. So Toriyama just writes a note. He grew a finger, but I don't want to admit I made a mistake, so I'm just going to make a joke out of it. And that's kind of like, this is like Toriyama's charm and his weakness all in one panel. Oops, I made a mistake. I'm just going to roll with it. Why not? Don't worry about it. So, one interesting thing about this fight is because Goku has lost his friend Krillin. He's taking this fight much more seriously than we see him take most of his fights. He is like fighting to kill this dude. Again, it has a lot of the dynamic action we've seen in the previous martial arts tournament arc, but Piccolo is a dirty, sneaky cheat. So he grabs Tien Shinhan's limp body and threatens to kill him. So one interesting thing about this is Goku pauses for a second, but realizes, fine, I'm sorry, Tien Shinhan, I've got to take him out, thinking I'll use the Dragon Balls to resurrect him later. When Piccolo reveals he's destroyed Shenlong, the dragon, and the magic of the Dragon Balls, that means, oh no, there's no way to resurrect our friend. So this pauses Goku long enough for Piccolo to injure him, and he leaves Goku with 3 injured limbs and only one arm left. Goku has been pushed farther by this fight than he ever has before, but using one arm, he again uses the Kamehameha to push him into motion and punch through King Piccolo with his only remaining arm. So one of the reasons I think this moment is so iconic and memorable is it's Goku at his absolute limit. Now, one, I don't know, maybe goofy thing about this whole thing is I feel like this is one of the weaker adventure arcs. So in previous adventure arcs, like the Red Ribbon Army, we got to see Goku traveling the world and encountering all kinds of dudes. This whole arc basically centers around a big fat plot contrivance that Akira Toriyama pulled out. So in previous stories, for example, Goku went and trained with Lord Kurin, and Lord Kurin had a clever trick. He said, if you take this magic water from me, you'll become stronger. But it really wasn't magic water. It was just ordinary water. And the thing that made Goku stronger wasn't the water. It was all the training he did to get the water. For this arc, Goku literally drank some super magic water that pulled out all of his strength and potential. So wait a minute, how does he have strength and potential later if he drank the super magic water now? Well, because we needed to make him stronger for the last fight, and we needed to hurry it up. Okay, the goofy Akira Toriyama comes up with some crazy reason why the hero gets stronger. I actually think that later things he did in Dragon Ball Z were smarter than this. So later ones were, Goku trained in a gravity chamber that's 100 times normal Earth gravity. Goku trained in the hyperbolic time chamber where 1 day on Earth equals 1 year in the hyperbolic time chamber. So it actually seemed like he worked harder to come up with the plot contrivances in Dragon Ball Z than in this one. But the bad King Piccolo is defeated. At the last minute, he lays an egg that creates his reincarnation. And there's going to be an even stronger Piccolo Jr. for Goku to fight. In order for him to prepare, he has to go train with God. And this is another thing that changes significantly between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. In Dragon Ball, it's very clear that Kame Sennin, God, literally God, is supposed to be literally God. In Dragon Ball Z, they decide, he's an alien, Goku's an alien, everybody's an alien. But there are even like sort of like lines and gags that underscore this. So Yajirobe's sort of a fedora. Don't you understand what's going on? He's talking about God. There's no such thing. When Goku talks to God, they even kind of like have a conversation about, well, why did you allow evil King Piccolo to exist? And Kame tells him, well, I can't just let humans I can't just solve people's problems for them. Humans have to learn to solve their own problems. So it's very clear that Kame is supposed to be God, but it's more like a Journey to the West version of God than like a Christian version of God. I think Journey to the West has the Jade Emperor, who's the ruler of heaven. He's the king of all the gods, but Song Wukong, the monkey, still runs around heaven causing trouble for him. So he's not omnipotent. Goku travels to heaven using the Neo Bow, and which is kind of neat because it's a weapon he's been carrying around, and we learn that it has some sort of significance to the world. The Neo Bow is the secret pathway to the heavens. So he has to fight with Mr. Popo, and Mr. Popo challenges Goku in a different way. So Goku's always been a feisty little fighter, but Popo teaches him to be still, to use minimal motion, to be calm and calm your mind and be aware of your surroundings, which is hard for Goku because he's a kind of a dumb, instinctual, muscle-bound fighter. So like the Monkey King story is about a wild, crazy monkey who has to be tamed by a Buddhist monk using a powerful magic crown. And over the course of the Monkey King story, he achieves Buddhist enlightenment and calmness of mind. So Goku's final test, his final achievement, now that he's basically the strongest person on Earth, he has to learn to control his own mind and sort of be at peace with himself. And all this stuff would get reused again later with, I think, like Ultra Instinct Goku. It's the idea is like it's not your big fat superpower that makes you strong. It's your calmness of mind and your control that makes you strong. So while Goku's friends are training their muscles on Earth, Goku's training his mind in heaven. 3 years pass, and Goku's now 18 and taller. He's kind of a cool teenager now, and who returns? So what's kind of neat about this character is if you're really sharp and you remember the early volumes, you could pick her up, or you might be like Goku and his friends who were kind of dumb and forgot about her. So Akira Toriyama didn't forget about one of his characters. He brought her back after all this time. It's Chi-Chi, the cute little girl who had a crush on Goku many volumes ago. But I like the angle that she's a mystery at first, in case you did forget who she was. At the martial arts tournament, so Goku fights Lord Choppa again. He's already beaten this guy once, so there aren't a ton of narrative stakes. We know Goku's going to win, but this fight again underscores what's changed about Goku. Now he's still. Now he's calm. He stands in a normal pose because he doesn't need a martial arts pose. Like the Monkey King, he's learned calmness of mind as his key trait. And we see, more of Chi-Chi being a cool, cute martial arts girl. This is such a great idea. She loves Goku, so she becomes a martial artist to win his heart back and take out her tsundere frustrations on him for forgetting about her. Yajirobe is a new character, and it feels like, he's when he was introduced, it's like, he's as strong as Goku. He's got a big appetite like Goku. He's a cool swordsman, but he doesn't get used that much. So he gets taken out in the preliminary rounds by Shen, a mysterious-looking goofball. Now, I've seen Toriyama draw this character type before. I'm suspicious that this could even be like a gag, like he drew one of his editors in something and put it in there. If any Dragon Ball history nerds know anything about that, let me know. It seems like the kind of thing Toriyama would do as a joke. Haha, it's my editor. I put you in the book. So Yajirobe seems to have all this potential, doesn't get utilized that much. In the actual fight between Goku and Chi-Chi, she reveals herself, and again, Goku's big theme is he's innocent. When he was a little kid, Chi-Chi asked him if he would come back and take my hand, and he said okay, because he didn't know what that meant. And then all these years later, he finds out that when a girl asks you to take her hand, that means you have to marry her and live with her forever. And he was completely naive about this, but he's such a good guy, he believes he has to honor his promise anyway. Now, again, Chi-Chi is one of these really neat characters who you kind of wish she was utilized more. You kind of wish she was along on some more of the adventures. This is kind of a real high point for her, where in love with this man and simultaneously frustrated with this man. She fights him, and even though he's kind of an idiot, he re-wins her heart. So Krillin must battle King Piccolo. We know what's going to happen. King Piccolo's the big bad guy. No way the friends are going to beat King Piccolo. It's going to have to be Goku who takes out King Piccolo. But Krillin does a respectable job. He's not a simp. He's not an idiot. He's not a loser. He's trained himself and he's learned new techniques. He's intelligent. He's mastered a double Kamehameha, and he's mastered the art of controlling his Kamehameha energy. So he puts on a respectable show, even wins Piccolo's respect before Krillin kind of smartly realizes this is a foe beyond me and ducks out. Yamcha, who's been such a cool character, he's starting to become a real loser, and we know what's going to happen in Dragon Ball Z. He's just going to keep staying a loser. He's going to keep falling farther and farther behind. So maybe one sad thing is a neat subplot of Goku's story is he's inspired his friends to become stronger, but then his friends become stronger and they just get totally clowned on by the new characters. So Shen, the mysterious goofball weirdo, he's sort of like a master of drunken fist, or like Jar Jar Binks. He sort of stumbles and trips around the arena and accidentally beats the crap out of this great martial artist. But Yamcha still gets some cool moments in the sun. He's mastered the So-Ki-Dan, which is a spinning chi bullet. So everybody's got chi. It's not like a superpower where only one person has it. Everybody's got chi, but they can manipulate or use their chi in creative ways. And I kind of see how this would inspire Naruto. It's sort of like the Rasengan or the Chidori. You use rotational energy to create more power. I think that Krillin would use this technique later to create like a spinning disc that cuts through people. So Yamcha actually develops an interesting new technique, but it's not strong enough to overcome Shen, who secretly, dun dun dun, is Kame, God in disguise. Let's see here. Tien Shinhan takes out Tao Pai Pai, who once was one of the baddest villains in the series and now is a complete clown, to show how strong they've all gotten. And we have a rematch between Goku and Tien Shinhan, who barely squeaked out a win in their last martial arts tournament. So like later Shonen Jump series, we're starting to see characters develop new superpowers that they kind of like come up with themselves and apply, and the hero has to see through the trick of these superpowers. So previously we've seen Tien Shinhan can multiply his arms. Now Tien Shinhan multiplies himself. It's like the Shadow Clone Jutsu. So he can have 4 of himself and attack Goku at multiple angles. Goku realizes that there are actually 2 weaknesses to this technique. So Goku uses the solar flare to blind Tien Shinhan. There are a few neat things about this. The solar flare is Tien Shinhan's move. Goku has learned his opponent's move and used it against him. So not only does Goku inspire his friends to become stronger, Goku learns from his friends and utilizes their techniques and weapons. So his friends make him smarter and stronger. He inspires his friends to become smarter and stronger. This whole fight also underscores what's different about Goku. Now, Tien Shinhan has 3 eyes. He relies on his eyesight. Goku has learned stillness of mind. He doesn't have to rely on his eyes to sense an opponent, and he defeats his opponent by blinding his eyes. Now, Goku's such an honorable dude that he gives Tien Shinhan a moment to recover his vision, and then he reveals the second weakness. By dividing yourself into 4 people, you also divided your strength into 4 people. You were hoping to overwhelm me, but you lacked the strength to take me out. So Shen Kame doesn't want to sacrifice himself, so his plan is to seal Piccolo. Now, Shen, God, is basically explained, I have to stay in the heaven because humans have to learn to solve their own problems. And Piccolo basically just starts roasting God and saying, you've been sitting on your laurels this whole time in heaven. Basically, as soon as God is introduced, he's made a joke, and it's made clear that this isn't a very powerful god. He's just some old dude in the sky. So Shen's plan fails, and instead Piccolo seals him in the jar. And what's kind of neat is Shen lacks confidence in Goku. He's trained Goku. Goku believes he can defeat Lord Piccolo Jr., but God lacks confidence in Goku and decides he's got to do this himself. And even God can't defeat this guy. So everything, of course, must come down to Goku versus the Demon King Piccolo Jr. There are multiple stages to the fight. He's about to use a Kamehameha when he realizes that if I kill Piccolo, I'm going to kill Kame, and I don't want to kill Kame. So again, Goku's sympathy holds him back. He's not a ruthless person, and a ruthless person can take advantage of that while fighting someone who has mercy. Now, Goku has always been a simple and naive person, not very experienced with the world, doesn't know much about the difference between boys and girls. He doesn't know what a marriage is, but he's not an idiot. So he does the classic Brer Rabbit Bugs Bunny trick where Piccolo turns himself giant. Goku says, "Oh no, if you turn even bigger, I'll be in trouble." Ha, gotcha. So he tricks him into turning even bigger so he can jump down inside his throat and grab God out of his stomach and pull him out. So he's rescued his friend and removed the problem. If I couldn't kill him while he had God in his stomach, now I can really take him out. Goku, although now at this point it's been made perfectly clear that Piccolo doesn't really care about the martial arts tournament. He just wants to kill Goku, then he's going to wipe out everybody and take over the world. So all of Goku's friends are taking this fight seriously. They're treating it like this is a world-ending scenario. And as far as Goku's concerned, this is a fight to be champion of the tournament. This is a fight to test himself. So it's sort of like Goku doesn't really have a big picture. All he really cares about is beating up the guy in front of him, and he wants to fight fair, even if the guy has made it perfectly clear he doesn't intend to fight fair. So God wants to intervene. Goku insists, no, I want to take him out on my own. I want to win this tournament. He actually is caring about things like the rules of the tournament, even though at this point. So he very nearly knocks out Piccolo Jr. when the enemy rises up the last second and blasts him through the chest. So in his previous fight with King Piccolo, the old guy, Piccolo crippled all but one of Goku's arms. We have to up the stakes. So this time, Piccolo Jr. cripples all four of Goku's arms. Again, so the buddies are taking this fight seriously. So they come up with a pretty clever plan. The God says, wait a second, King Piccolo and I were two sides of the same coin. If you kill him, you kill me. If you kill me, you kill him. So just kill me right now, and then we'll kill King Piccolo, and everyone will be safe. And Goku insists, no, don't do it. Goku, the innocent soul, wants to win honorably. And you'd see this over and over again in Dragon Ball Z, where he's willing to heal his opponent so he can fight his opponent at full strength. Goku believes in himself, and he doesn't want to win through deception and trickery. He wants to win by outdoing and becoming the strongest version of himself. So how is Goku going to win with 0 limbs left? Well, he's learned a trick. He has learned the technique of flying. Now, what's kind of neat about this is this entire time, he's been fighting a dude who can fly, and it's very clear that his opponent can maneuver around in midair, and Goku has to launch himself off of things or use energy to move through the air. It seems like Goku doesn't have the power of flight, but this whole time we've noticed Goku learns from his enemies. He learns their techniques. He applies them. He takes everything his opponents throw at him. He learns it and he becomes stronger. So the last twist is Goku secretly learned how to fly and he doesn't need his limbs anymore. Barrels in, bad guy is defeated, heals him because he's such a good guy, and Piccolo Jr., the bad guy, runs off into the mountains to train. Goku is happily married and goes off on his honeymoon, happily ever after, the end. He's fully come into himself as a hero. He's reached his full potential and defeated the most powerful evil on the planet. He's even got a wife, a beautiful wife, to boot. Of course, it would go on and on. Now, one of the interesting things I noticed in the letters column is readers were speculating that this series would end after the King Piccolo arc, and even Toriyama was wondering about that. So it's very clear that Toriyama doesn't plan this far ahead. He just keeps going, and the next story is the start of a brand new journey, and we don't have to worry too much about what we've established last time. I know, let's make them all aliens in the next chapter. Why not? And that's kind of like the that's the creativity I admire, like the willingness to just keep reworking and reimagining your own world and your own characters. And it's also what makes it kind of sad, because there are all of these really interesting ideas that never get explored. So it's God, never mind, it's an alien. There are really interesting ideas that are just reworked or reimagined later. But it's the end of a brilliant series and the beginning of what would also continue to be a very different but also very brilliant series. Do I want to have any closing thoughts on Dragon? Oh yeah. All right. So here's another example of it. So Oolong. Oolong was a main character in the first arc. He hasn't really done anything in this entire arc. His one little moment is he was the only one who remembered who Chi-Chi is, because Oolong's pretty smart. Bulma was one of the main characters of the first story arc, and her intelligence, she has no superpowers, but her intelligence and grit make her useful for later stories. She wasn't utilized much in this entire arc. Later in Dragon Ball Z, she would start to be utilized again. So I think Toriyama has a hard time figuring out how to use some of his characters, and then he might let them sit in the background for a while before he brings them back and says, oh, now I've got an idea of how to use them. So Krillin, I thought, was used quite well throughout this entire arc. Yamcha's already starting to become a joke. The weaknesses are starting to emerge. It's slowly ceasing to be an adorable little gag manga that's a parody of a Chinese fairy tale, and it has become a highly dynamic action manga where martial arts is combined with superpower and power beyond human imagination, and the bad guy is defeated, and a new bad guy comes out of the works who's even stronger than the old bad guys, and all the old bad guys have to team up with the good guys to beat the new bad guy, and the new bad guy's stronger than Goku and all the old bad guys combine, until Goku trains his ass off and develops a new technique that lets him squeak out a victory. So that is what Dragon Ball is. It's genius. So I would at least recommend read Dragon Ball. Read Dragon Ball because the weaknesses don't matter. The weaknesses don't matter. This is creativity at its finest. It's a master of his craft, inventing something. He's inventing something that everybody after him is going to follow. I kind of think that modern manga needs to be revitalized. Sometimes as I've been reading Shonen Jump, I read it and I say, okay, he's just like Goku. Oh, and this guy, he's just like Goku, and he's got a big appetite. I feel like we need another Akira Toriyama. We need another guy to kind of come in to Shonen Jump and kick it down a bit, or shake things up and sort of create the next Goku. But, excuse me, cough there. But Akira Toriyama's impact on the industry is immeasurable. I was even thinking about how Goku taking off his weights is kind of like Rock Lee taking off his weights. Like you can't unsee it. Everything after this is homaging this at some level, and you got to get it into your library. Don't let the fact that it's popular stop you. It became popular because it's brilliant. A pure-hearted, perfectly good hero who you'll never forget because his pure-heartedness and his goodness defines him and contrasts him with the entire world around him. That's it. That's the conclusion of Dragon Ball. Number one Marmee fan. Love you guys. Catch you later.